So we've crossed the line now where streaming is the driving force.
Hello and welcome to Behind the Lens, an inside look at what it's like to gather TV news. I'm Stuart Pittman, Chief Photojournalist for QCN Plus, and I'm so glad you're here. This week, we're talking about the future of news. But before we can blast off into the future, we have to fast forward to the past. From the dawn of television, the science of local news has evolved. From cumbersome cameras to fleets of live trucks to magic backpacks, technology constantly changes. But so too does the way you get the news. What was once appointment viewing is now something you might catch on your phone. So where does all this leave your local TV news crew? And where does it leave you, the viewer? We think we know. And joining us to explore all this is veteran TV photojournalist and one of the nicest guys you're going to meet, Terrence Allen. Hey, Terry.
Hey, Stuart. How are you, man?
I'm well, man. I'm so glad you're here because
Good.
you have been doing this even longer than I have, and that's the exact kind of perspective I want.
Thanks for having me.
Because in this episode, we're going to talk about TV news, where it came from, what it's like now, maybe where it's going. But you and I, at the risk of this being a session of two old guys saying back in my day, I want to hear about what TV news was like when you started. What year did you get started in local news?
Well, I was actually exposed to it in 1986. I was an intern at WTVR Channel 6 in Richmond, Virginia.
Right.
And so I guess I became a news photojournalist in actual 1990 once I finished up school. But anyway,
Sure.
I was exposed to so much as an intern.
Mm-hmm.
A typical evening would be I would get in an old news truck that we had at the time. You couldn't believe this thing. Actually, it was a station wagon.
Sure.
And I'd go out with a veteran photojournalist named Mike Lee. And I tell you what, I was really exposed to some of the interesting sides of Richmond nightlife. It was definitely a learning experience.
Sure.
So that was my beginning. That was kind of my baptism into television, electronic news gathering.
Well, that's about the same time I got started in Eastern North Carolina. And I think, tell me if I'm wrong, when I started, it was 3 TV stations locally, couple of radio stations, a vibrant news market, but a small self-contained one with not a lot of competition for local news. And I remember back in the day being part of a local TV news crew, you were kind of a hero. People were excited to see you roll up with your big camera and logo, and they all wanted to be on TV. And I know it wasn't like that the whole time, but a lot of it was like that. And so much of that has changed for so many reasons. What's been the biggest change you've seen? Is it technology?
I think the biggest thing I've seen is twofold, editorial-wise, and the biggest one, technology.
Mm-hmm.
You were mentioning, I got to go back to something you just said. We were kind of back in the day, I don't want to say rock stars, but I guess I'll say rock stars.
Yeah.
You know, when we'd pull up to a scene, I mean, all of our cars were all marked.
Sure.
Everybody knew who we were.
Sure.
And it was more, I guess, the anchors and the reporters that got that, but we kind of took some of that also.
Right.
And that was pretty cool. But then you got to take the good with the bad. And there was also the times when we'd pull up to the scenes and we'd get the finger, shot at us or people throwing stuff or whatever. But I think the biggest change I've noticed in television news is the way we gather the news.
Really?
The smaller cameras, the live view packs, which I have one here I'll show in a second. But that was kind of one of the biggest things that I've noticed. When I first started, we had the old 3/4 inch gear.
Sure.
And that's the big HL 76, 79 Ikegami with the big old pack on the side.
It's an industrial size VCR in a bag on your shoulder with a camera on the other.
Absolutely.
And a big long coil between the two.
Mhm.
And if you run, you kind of jostle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of my mentors actually started in the film days to show you how old I am.
Sure.
So I felt lucky. Okay, I
To
felt
have
blessed
3/4.
to have the 3/4 inch gear until I saw guys running around with the first generation Betacams.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, wait a minute, I'm missing out on something here, you know?
Yeah, I remember.
So that was, I think that's the biggest change, the technology, is gotten it's easier
Sure.
to get out here and run and gather this news.
Speaking of which, show me the live view. I've called it the magic backpack, and I know it's not magic; it's cellular bonded technology.
There you go.
But for those who don't know, oh, you're good. This didn't mean to take it from you. This backpack basically is what we used to have a live truck for.
Mm-hmm.
So to get our signal out, we can now just plug a camera into one of these backpacks, fire it up. In this market, cell coverage is pretty darn good.
Mm-hmm.
So 9 times out of 10, you push a button or two and you're live. And that's not a big deal to someone today, but to you and I, who used to have to do a lot more to make live television, this is incredible.
And that's something I wanted to jump back on. You remember when we'd pull up with the big live trucks and then we'd have 400 or 500 feet of cable that we have to, sometimes I'd have to use 2 or 3 cable reels just to do one live shot. And man, I'm going to tell you what. But see, I didn't know any better then.
Sure.
See, back then I was like, oh, this is cool. This is great. This is awesome. But man, when I got my hand on one of those, and they actually are smaller now.
Yeah.
They come in little,
right.
So, but I look back on some of the cable runs I've made in the old days, and I'm thinking, man, this is definitely a blessing, no doubt.
It is. Tell me this. Used to all the news crews pretty much stuck together because of technology. If there was a big storm, you'd have all the live trucks at one particular parking lot or pier or location. These days, you can take one of these backpacks and go live anywhere. And sometimes that makes for a better news coverage, but a less enjoyable experience because there's less time hanging out with the fellas and the ladies and all the people, all the interesting people who chase news for a living. And that's always an interesting gathering spot. And it's less so these days.
It really is. And that's one of the things that I really love about this business is getting together with all the other news crews.
Sure.
And you get on these stories, these big stories, and you sit there and you do your job, of course. But then when you have a lot of downtime, you're talking, you're learning about each other. I do believe that with the onset of the new technology, a lot of that doesn't happen much anymore.
Right.
On the editorial side of things, we're covering different stories every day. Back in the day, there was usually 1 or 2 stories that every local news crew was covering daily.
Right.
These days, with the onset of the new technology and with something that we may get in later with all the iPhones and everything like that, we're all covering different stories every day, unless it's a big story.
Sure.
And so we don't really get that that feeling of camaraderie anymore and hanging out and stuff like that. Like, again, unless it's a huge story.
And you'll see the same face.
And you'll see the same face. It's a lot of fun, like when I come in every morning, I look forward to going out and seeing some of the fellas and the ladies from the other stations. It's been a blast.
It has. And this has been a blast, Terrence. And we're going to have you back on at some point because you have a breadth of experience and 1,000 pictures and war stories and things I'd like to hear about and share with others. But thank you so much.
You're very welcome. It's been an honor.
An honor. Well, thank you, man. All right, we're going to be right back. Welcome back to Behind the Lens, an inside look at what it's like to gather TV news. This week, we're talking about the future of TV news. But before we can talk about the future of TV news, we need to talk about what TV news is like today. And someone who can tell me all about that is Derek Dellinger, reporter, photographer, anchor, lead singer of your own heavy metal band.
I wish I could scream that loudly. Yes.
Well, you may not sing heavy metal, but you do make television in every form and fashion. And I say that because I have respect for that breadth of skills. And I have made a lot of TV by myself as well. I just haven't gone on air as much as you. So let's review. Most people, when they think about TV news crews, if they think about them at all, think of 2 people, a reporter and a photographer. Classically, that's the way it's always has been. But in the past dozen years or so, it's really gone toward more of a solo model due to technology making that possible.
Yes.
I'm talking a lot. I want you to talk a lot. So tell me, what's it like to gather news solo?
I would even venture to say it's been in the past 15 years. And I'm going to qualify this because the 2009 recession is basically when I first started picking up a camera. I had already been in the business for about 2 years. The recession hit, and when the recession hit, I basically had to learn how to use this camera that it wasn't necessarily one of those big clunky news cameras. It was one of the smaller handy cam types, but it was still one of those that had the news quality, shall we say, to it.
Right.
And when that was happening, it's like I barely knew exactly what I was doing. I mean, I was shooting stuff, but I didn't know anything about sequencing video, the wide, medium, tight for every shot. I didn't know exactly how to do really anything with the camera other than hit record and hit stop and then take it to the edit bay. And by about this time, I should also mention too, we weren't on tape. We were on P2 cards that you just put on the camera and you recorded from there, which allowed us to do nonlinear editing. I didn't really ever do any tape to tape editing, which was the classic way many people had done it in news.
Sure.
But for lack of better words, it kind of stuck. As much as I would love to say it, as much as I would hate to say it, it's kind of stuck because a lot of TV stations found that as a way to cut costs in a way.
Sure.
And
cheaper way of making headlines.
Yes. And it's a cheaper way of making deadlines, but also it has advanced itself over the years. The cameras have gotten smaller. The equipment has gotten smaller. And there are also different ways to actually tell the story now other than with just the camera. You also have the option of a smartphone. You also have the option of the various accoutrements that you can get with a smartphone as well, because you can get a little bit of everything, an extra microphone, everything under the kitchen sink there for that to basically help tell the story just a little bit better.
I find that someone with the proper breadth of skills, shooting, writing, editing, you haven't got to be like a genius at any one thing. Yeah. But if you're good enough at all of it, then you can cover up your mistakes.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Because it's like, especially starting out, people didn't realize, I wasn't shooting enough. Or people didn't realize, I may have messed up this shot, but you're not going to see it because I'm not going to use it. Or maybe shooting a stand-up by yourself. Stand-up is the part of where the reporter's on camera, just telling the story about what exactly is going on. And like, hey, I might have done it by myself, but I might have been out of focus. You know what? I'm not going to use that. I'm just going to do the newsroom intro and just leave it at that.
Sure.
And so there was a lot of being a fool, a little bit of everything, but also knowing enough to actually not necessarily get by, at least starting out to get by on as to how to use the equipment. Over time, though, like becoming more familiar with the equipment, becoming more familiar with the software that you're using on a daily basis, it makes it easier. And not only that, you can go in there fairly confident in that ability to do your job.
And I was going to touch on that because you mentioned that earlier, and I thought that was so key. Turn enough stories by yourself, you get pretty confident. Turn enough stories with or without help grows confidence, and you realize, well, this can't be as bad as the one time I did something so much tougher.
Yes.
Talk to me about the timeline you individually might have to turn a story from concept to finished product on television, all by yourself.
All by myself. So I can give you what my normal work day probably was. Let's just say I was working a day shift, and I worked an occasional day shift where I did have to turn stories. And one good example was, I get my story assignment, or it would either be something I pitched or something that would be assigned to me. By 10:30, 11 o'clock, I would have an idea as to what exactly the story was going to be and kind of where it needed to go. From there, it's, okay, you're by yourself. You're going to that location by yourself, so you don't necessarily have a chance to actually be on a smartphone. At least you're not supposed to.
Right.
And then you don't have the option to do research, at least at that time, because you were busy trying to go to that location. You get your interview, you get whatever extra things that you need to get as far as to help tell the story, as like any additional interviews, the B-roll that you need to get, all of that you're getting by yourself. If there's any file video that you need to get from the station, it's a good idea to probably get that beforehand, or at least have the ability to download it in the field. And then from there, you basically, usually about 2:30 or so, was basically my deadline. Go in, start writing the story, start logging the story, and being ready to, and I will actually use my experience here at Queen City News as like when I had a live shot at 4, a live shot at 5, and a look live at 6. I was doing literally all of that at a few points, and it was a lot. I'm not going to lie, it was a lot.
To hear you describe it sounds like an impossible amount, but having done it and having witnessed it, it's all about time management, and knowing what to spend time on and what not to spend time on. And and it's the kind of thing I think with all news gathering. Once you get in the groove, it can be a delicious thing. I love to turn TV by myself, when it's convenient.
Yes.
Something that's not convenient these days is not only are you out there with fewer people on your side trying to help you make your deadlines, but you're up against people with streaming services and iPhones at press conferences. When's the last time someone at a press conference got in your way with an iPhone?
And getting in the way of the shot, I will say it did happen last year during a political rally that was in Mint Hill, but it involved someone who, shall we say, was part of a larger news organization who, shall we say, was in the way that we had to politely inform. And it took about 15 minutes to do so, to let him know that he needed to get his
it
stuff
could
down.
happen.
Yeah.
With this business going the way it is, with revenue shrinking and audiences going to other venues, and you knowing what you know about this business from having done it for 20-some years, would you recommend this business to a young person who's interested in TV news?
I would recommend journalism in general. Because the way we are doing news here right now, it is changing. I'm just going to say it. I mean, it has changed. It is changing. It's in the process of changing, and
it's in need of change.
It's also in need of change too. I mean, yes, it is. It is in need of change. I'm not going to lie about that. I mean, and the argument can be made very successfully for that. My thing about it is that we're in an era of social media influencers, people who want to not necessarily be famous, but have their name out there have a presence. And that has to count for at least something, to advance oneself. However, journalism in general, I would still recommend, because this country, this world needs journalists. We need to know exactly what's going on. Trained journalists are a very important thing for anybody.
Sure.
And for a healthy democracy and for a healthy world. My thing about it is that it's like, is it going to be TV news? Maybe, maybe not.
Sure.
Is it going to be what we're doing here now on streaming? Maybe, maybe not. But you have to be able to put things within context on a daily basis. And sometimes it's easier to do with a raw press conference, but sometimes it's not.
Amen.
So,
well, thank you for the context you provided. It's interesting to hear someone who's making television today in today's world, in today's environment, as opposed to the history lesson we've been talking about. And for our next segment, sort of the future and where all this is going.
And you're going to be talking about this baby here too.
We are. Streaming is a large part of it. Yeah. And we'll be right back. Welcome back to Behind the Lens, an inside look at what it's like to gather TV news. We've looked at the past. We've looked at the present. Let's peer into the future. Joining us to help us do that is Casey Clark, Queen City News Director and my boss. How you doing, Casey?
Oh, Stuart, I'm doing great. I'm never comfortable being on this side of the camera.
I'm right there with you, and I think the people viewing this understand that implicitly.
Yes. I think they can see it.
Yes, I can feel it. It's a small room. Casey, despite our best efforts, local TV viewership is on the dwindling scale.
That's a nice way to put it.
Yeah. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and a jillion streaming outlets.
Let's not forget YouTube. YouTube is now the #1 way that people watch anything.
That's incredible. And I wonder if people realize that.
I read the stat from the National Association of Broadcasters. May was the first month ever where if you combined all of the people watching broadcast television and all of the people watching traditional cable TV, stick those two numbers together, and they were not as big as streaming.
How?
So we've crossed the line now where streaming is the driving force.
So what does a local television outlet news station do about that?
A lot of this, actually. We still have to cover the local news,
right,
but we also need to find other ways where we can generate an audience, where we can entertain people, where we can still inform them, where we can share things with them that they might not have access to on their own.
Right.
That we have to get more creative and compete with the Mr. Beasts of the world.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
We the streaming, from what I'm seeing local TV stations do, they're assembling a streaming studio just like this, and they're recycling some of their content, but they're also coming up with new ideas, such as this show. We're trying to do the exact same thing. I'm enjoying the heck out of this.
And it shows.
How is this going to save TV news? is my question. I understand making bite-sized programming and being able to spread your product out on every outlet there is. But the future is scary.
Well, the future is always scary if you look at it as something to be feared. But I think there's a lot of interesting opportunities, and if you focus on smart people, creative people who bring us corners of the world that we maybe haven't looked at before, or inform us of something that we maybe would not have come across in other ways. And it always comes down to what makes us different, and I think better than a lot of the YouTubers out there and
Right.
The people who are just content creators. We're journalists.
Sure.
We do this for a living. This is our profession. Between the two of us, there's 6 or 7 decades worth of experience sitting here. So we understand what it takes to tell a well-rounded story, to
Right.
tell an interesting story, to tell a fair story.
Right.
I
know that you and I are both believers that it's not so much the format or the medium, it's the message. And in news, that message is just what's going on, told fairly and complicitly.
But it has to be done, and that's the secret sauce, I think, of Queen City News, is quality.
Yeah.
We invest in really great storytellers.
Right.
And that is where we have planted our flag. And I don't think that will ever change. How you deliver a well-told story may evolve. It always has. I mean, as we've talked about before, from cave paintings.
Yeah.
Well, cave paintings aren't coming back, but the interest in a well-told story will be with us as long as we're able to communicate with each other.
I'm waiting for the Apple iLid, which is the cornea implant that you'll be able to blink through the internet. I'm convinced that's coming, and if it comes, I want to be someone who's putting the programming together that people are watching on their eyelids.
I actually was one of the testers for Google Glass.
Yeah.
Which I thought was brilliant and fascinating, but a bunch of people decided to wear it into restrooms.
Oh, God.
Because they just sometimes forgot they had it on.
Sure.
And that takes us into an area of voyeurism. And I think that was one of the reasons why that was the end of that.
Oh, that's a whole nother show.
It is. Eventually you get OnlyFans out of that. How many minutes did it take us to get to OnlyFans?
I think about 5.5, but we didn't try really hard. Hey, tell me this. Over the years, television stations have become more generic and like each other and corporate, and some of the real pearls of wisdom and charm of a local TV station have been lost as everything's gone sort of corporate and generic, in my opinion only. Do local TV stations have to refine their singular identity to succeed? Because you can get that generic corporate product from anywhere. Do local TV stations have to sort of dig deep into maybe what they once were?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I mean, you're leading the witness, but you kind of know how I feel. You can't replace localism.
Right.
Well, if somebody doesn't know how to say, and I'll say Cherryville, even though the mayor will correct us and say it's Cherryville.
Yes.
Have you ever seen a cherry tree? as he famously said on our air. But it's important to understand your community. It's important that, yes, will social security stories be relevant everywhere? Sure.
Right.
But a social security story told locally with how it's impacting seniors here is a heck of a lot more important to me than how it's impacting seniors in West Virginia. I mean, I'm okay with seniors in West Virginia, but those are not my neighbors.
Sure. Interesting. Well, Casey, thank you for your time. We're running out of time. This has been interesting, and we could talk about this all day, and I would hope to have you back because we're not stopping. And I'm intrigued to see where the industry and all of that is going. And I know that you are as well.
Here's our tease for the future. Media consolidation is coming.
It is. It is.
And that'll be a whole other segment to talk about.
That will be.
Dun, dun, dun.
Hey, before I let you go, I have one last question.
Yes.
Can I get next Thursday off? Because I've got some things to do and the wife's calling, so we'll talk about it all.
I thought you were going to ask for a raise, but you missed your chance.
That's a whole nother show.
Nope.
Casey, thank you. And thank you. This has been Behind the Lens, an inside look at what it's like to gather TV news, and we'll see you next time.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.